pertaining with the shell variables. When we say shell variables, there are many environment variables which is defined already in bash terminals. In the last class, we have seen how to. Another feature of the Linux commands is that you can pipe in the commands output of one command. Say, for example, whenever we say the ls command, it lists the content of a particular directory -l. This is one command. Now we know actually this lists or makes a list of contents in the present working directory. So something like this, you will get an output. So can you see this particular terminal? Hello? See, somebody should reply for these such questions. Feedback. I want to make sure that everything is fine.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay, now, yeah, right. Now when ls command is, this is the one single command. Now in case this output, whatever is displayed in the screen, if you want to process it further, doing something, so using the text processing, etc., you can pass it to another command by using a pipe symbol. Now pipe symbol is this one. This is you have to press the shift key and then press the key which is all normally appears above your enter keyboard. Enter key in the key. Shift and you have to press the key which appears there above, just above the enter key. This is called pipe command, pipe. And this output can be the output of this ls command. You can give it as an input to, say for example, one command called sort. Now just find out what is the difference. Now the moment if you give like this, all the contents now look into will be sorted based upon the contents. See, beginning with the D is appeared first line, first characters, then after that the total rest of the contents. It will be sorted in a way. All the file contents are sorted. Like this you can nest it together with and you can come out with the very useful result also. Then about this is about nesting together or the piping between the commands. Similarly, the sequential commands are also possible. I displayed this in the last class also. Say for example, one command is date, and after that if you want to execute one more command, write a semicolon, and then you can write, say for example, ls-l. Then again if you can write some other commands like, say for example, pwd, and just enter key. All these three commands will be executed one after another. See, initially the date command is displayed, the output is appeared here in the first line. Then after that ls command output is there here. Then last at the end, present working directory is displayed. This is what you can see with the sequential commands. In this way also you can write nest together or arrange commands in a very useful way. Then also Linux supports for some kind of expanding of arithmetic expressions also. Say for example, if you type echo, then if you write something, if you want to find, say for example, the value now look into the next symbol there carefully. So if any error message, if meaningless commands are pressed, it will show error also. Otherwise, the value is 100. Actually, I should have, so this command, because echo command should end with the inverted quotes. Now here you can see the value, and after that I want to do a small mathematical operation, arithmetic operation. Look into the way in which arithmetic expressions can be, we can write it in a shell. I would write a dollar and within the square bracket. So I wrote a small expression 50 plus 50 like this. Also note that if you write plus 50, that entire those two numbers 50 and 50 is considered as just as a text. It will not be evaluated. If you want to evaluate, you have to write it with the one of the way. There are many other ways also. Write it, put it in this way, then end it with the square bracket. Then it will be evaluated. Note down these differences very carefully. This is about a limited capability of doing arithmetic evaluation. There are much more things. When we study about the shell programs in the next chapter, we'll let us discuss about that in detail. Similarly, there are already defined shell variables. Those shell variables can be also displayed with the echo commands. Say echo $user, where user USER in capitals, note that also. It is called some of the environment variables. There are many other environment variables also. Say for example, dollar, if you write path, dollar path, that's very important. Dollar symbol is very important. Value assigned to that environment variable is displayed. Here you can find out a long list of directories, path names, beginning absolute path names. The path name which starts with root /usr/local/bin. Within the root folder, there is a folder called USR folder. Within that USR folder, there is a one more folder called local. Within that local folder or directory, there is a folder called bin. So this is a path. After that, the second path is also given. Two paths are separated by a colon there. Colon /usr/bin, colon /bin, colon, etc. etc. This is a path variable. Actually, these are the locations where executables will be placed. Say, for example, when I write echo command or when I say pwd, those shell commands, its object codes, the executables are stored in one of these locations. Linux will search it search for the location one by one, beginning from the first one. If the executable is not found in the first location, it will go for the next location, etc. Anyway, the details, once again, we can discuss it later. Now, just note the point that any environment variable values can be printed with the echo command, echo $. Then you have to write a common shell environment variable name. You can find different shell environment variable even in the textbook, where in that Linux Bible, for example, in the page number 82, you will find a list of different environment variables. Relevance of those environment variables will be clear to you as we proceed with the topic. One more environment variable, let us try. It is listed there, home. It says that the home directory is /home/manmohan. Similarly, there is one more variable called host type. So the moment you say host type x86, that means it is a 64-bit Intel processor. That's a coding for that. 64 is a 64-bit operating system. And similarly, one more environment variable is OS type. It says operating system is Linux GNU. Similarly, one more one is PPID, parent process ID. This operating system creates one unique ID for every programs under execution in this computer. Now, this particular process ID, the shell process ID is 5527 in my computer. In your computer, you may get some other value also. So like this, different environment variables can be printed there. Then again, one more interesting command, say for example, alias. If you say alias, say for example, P, then you can write one command here under this pwd. What happened here? Note that pwd is a command, normal shell command. I am creating one alternate name to the pwd command, my own name called p. Then once if you set some alias, then you can always use that alias name, alternate name for the command. Now P stands for pwd. That's why now in this particular session, whenever I just enter P, pwd will work. It is an alternate name to the pwd. Similarly, this can be, and one more feature is that with this alias technique, you can create a series of commands, not only one. Semicolon, you can write, say for example, ls-l. Now P will stand for these two commands. Now look into this, how it works. Then the moment you type P, both pwd and ls-l will work. This is what we say creating and using alias. We can effectively use a shortcut to any command and options you want to run later. You can add and list alias with the alias command. Okay, just to practice that also, how to use it. Practically you do this. And again, whenever you want to terminate a shell, you can simply type exit instead of pressing that cross button at the right corner, right top corner of the screen. You can come out of the shell program with the exit command. And whatever the facilities, features, capabilities available for the given shell can be configured also. Bash configuration files are, one is called /etc/profile. Now look into this. This actually details how it is, how the program, that shell script is written. You need not bother much. Look into this. Now we listed various shell variables, etc., and the terminal width, number of lines that can fit in a screen, etc. Everything can be defined or customized. Now, if you look into the one of the configuration file for command for bash is available in /etc/profile. It's a system-wide profile file for bash Bourne shell. It is equally holds good for the three different types of shells here: bash, KSH, and ASH. Now look into this here, and compatible shells. The so-called terminal window, whatever we are getting now, is bash. But similarly, in the open source domain or in each Linux system, you will get different shell programs like KSH, ASH, etc. There are different, and the difference in between these is some of the commands will work in bash only, may not work in KSH. Similarly, KSH shell will have some unique commands which may not work with bash. You need to note down. So here, look into this particular profile. See, path variable is set here. Whenever if you want to make some changes into the path variable, if you want to add one more directory, your own directory for searching for object codes, you can always look into this particular folder. Okay, in this way it can be, see, now whatever you are going to see here is a shell script. It has got its own syntaxes. You can note there are some if statements, there are some else statements, there is a command called export. So if and conditional statements, and this fi is for end of if statement. Okay. And forced statements also available, like similar to C, but with the varied syntax. For loop statements, if statements, case statements. So these are the syntaxes supported by the shell for shell programming. In the shell programming, you can use any shell commands. You can nest together multiple shell commands to achieve some useful task. This is a shell program to configure the features of bash terminal window. Okay. Similarly, there is one more terminal configuration file. So let us try for that also. Bash RC. Now this is /etc/profile is a system-wide profile. Yeah, so in this particular, in my terminal, that bash RC is not found. There also you can configure certain configuration files. Say for example, if you want to find out all the files which starts with the dot, you can look into ls dot and I immediately press tab. It displays some of the file contents whose file name starts with the dot. Remember, in Linux, if any file starts with dot, it is considered as a hidden file. If you want to hide any file in the Linux, you name it where the first character is a dot. So there are different interesting hidden files for us. One is called bash string. You can notice this, the hidden file. Okay. So in this way, there are different hidden files available, each with its own use. Generally, these are the configuration files for different applications. Okay, different application programs are configured with some details where those configuration files are hidden from the normal user. But as a owner of a computer, you know the file name starts with the dot. Then you say, for example, this dot here, bash history. If you want to display that particular content, you need to say cat dot bash history. Actually, it is the history file. All the commands so far as whatever we used are stored here. One history file is maintained. By looking into this file, you can understand, or you can make a list of all the commands used in this particular computer. See, you can display all the contents. Even in the previous class, whatever the commands we worked with, everything is displayed here. It can display the history of commands which is used by the user in this particular computer. In this way, you practice all the different commands. Actually, it is the chapter 3 of the book. Then we shall go to, and we also started with the file systems. Just to revise the topics, I covered these topics. Now, the next topic is about Linux file system, how the Linux file system is organized. Now, look into every file system, the entire file system. When I say file system, it is in the computer's hard disk. After the installation, many system files of the operating systems also stored along, and after that, if you create your files, if you download any files, that also will be stored in the computer's hard disk. Now, operating systems file configuration files, operating systems program codes, as well as you may download some files, you may create some files. All these files, whatever you're going to create or make use of or store in your computer should be stored in the computer's hard disk. Now, where these are stored? When you download some file, where it goes? Or whenever you install an operating system, where this operating system's code is stored. Everything is very systematic in any file system, in any operating system. Now we are focused because obviously we are looking into how Linux deals with this. Now, for all practical purpose, assume that your computer's hard disk, original hard disk, or the free space where you install the Linux. Also assume now only Linux operating system is there in your computer, no Windows is there. Now, what is your hard disk? What is the content of your hard disk? How it is represented? That entire disk space available is represented by one character called root. Now look into this particular folder. This encompasses everything in the hard disk. Now, how to go there? Now, we'll start from the entire hard disk. In the Linux way of doing the things is that you have to say cd, then you have to say root. I call it as a root or or a slash. Now, it is a folder. Your entire hard disk is considered as a one single folder, biggest folder, outer folder, root. Let us go for it. Now you are inside that folder, topmost folder, root. Now look into the content. What is there in this folder? If you look into that, you will find these many different folders. So your entire hard disk, that is root, within that hard disk, you have different folders. Again, if you can print it in this way also, -L, then you can look into that same content. Because this D stands for directory, L stands for a link. What is a link? That we'll discuss it later. It is a link or a pointer to another file in the hard disk. Okay, this link is initrd.image, but actually that is a pointer to the original file in a separate folder boot. Okay, that will anyway. Now the point is that the hard disk root folder contains one folder called bin and another folder called data1 as well as data2 also. Then dev, home, lib32, libx32, media, opt, root. See, all these set of folders are auto-created by operating system. Linux operating system during the installation created all these folders. So every folder has got its own purpose. Now say for example, when I say bin here, or it's also called as a /bin because it is always below the root folder. We always represent it with the /bin. in absolute path name field. This bin folder, it is a directory. So look into this, it says D. Owner of this folder is root. That means administrator of the operating system. Owner and group is also root. That means it's a system related folder. This bin, for example, it contains common Linux user commands such as ls, sort, date, chmod, pwd. All these commands are stored in that particular folder. Similarly, there is another folder called boot. This has a bootable Linux kernel and bootloader configuration files. Second file, configuration files. Similarly, there is a folder called DEV. This contains files representing access points to devices on your systems, because the entire hard disk contains many different devices connected to it. Keyboard, mouse is connected, display is connected, keyboard is connected, primary memory is connected, hard disk is connected, pen drive is connected. Every devices are connected to the operating system. Now, every device is treated as one, will have one entry in the operating system. That is mentioned in the DEV, or we call it as a device file. So keyboard will have a device file, mouse will have a device file, etc. Similarly, there is another folder which contains administrative etc folder. This folder will contain many configurable files. After the installation, if user want to configure any services in the Linux system, appropriate configuration file can be located in this particular folder called /etc. Say, for example, you want to configure web server. So download Apache web server. After that, you want to configure your web server to host some contents from your computer. Then you need to search within this folder called etc for Apache folder. Apache is a web service. So then you go and change that configuration files according to your requirement. Similarly, as we discussed in the previous class, there is a home folder. All the users created in this computer will have a folder within this computer. So let us go to, say, for example, CD. If you want to go to that particular folder called home, you have to say you are in the root now. Now look into this present working directory. PWD is root. You are inside root folder. If you want to go to home folder, you can write absolute file name beginning with the root. From root, go to the home. You can write it in this way also. Now you are inside the home folder. You can find what are the entries available here. See, this contains 4 different folders like Manmohan, Manu, Sanvi, Sai Radha. See, these are the different folders created in this particular computer. Similarly, if you go to /bin, from here if you want to go to cd/bin, I said that many user commands are stored here. You can look into the content. See, several tens of user commands are stored here. All these are object codes or the executables of the commands we are going to work. So for example, there is a command called bash. There is a command called cp, copy command. There is a command called date, object code of that date. Okay. Then gzip, su command, sh command, touch command, tar command, the mv, move command, less commands, cat command. So like this, all executables are stored here in this folder. You can get a detailed view also. All these are the system related files. A normal user cannot delete or modify this content. So to modify these files, you need super user permission. Look into this particular folder. This indicates that owner of this file is root. Nobody else can, only root users can modify these particular files. Everybody can read, write, execute, but others will have just a read and execute permission, no write permission. It cannot be modified by others other than root. Okay, everybody can read it. That's why R is enabled. Everybody can execute these commands, users, groups, and others. So these are the file permissions, related information. Like this, these are the first level roots. There is a systematic arrangement, all the configuration files. Say for example, when I say all the configuration file, if you go to CD home, my username is Manmohan, I can go to that. Inside this folder, I am going to arrange my files according to my vision, whims and fancies. So I can store different files. I can create a separate folder for 5th semester students, 6th semester students, 7th semester students, for computer network subject, for Linux programming subject. I can keep one user, one folder for every students of Linux programming, and so that I can store or segregate users uploaded files, assignment, etc. in separate folder during the evaluation. I am free to do whatever I want within my folder, but I am not permitted to touch other file systems. So this is about the basic Linux file system. You need to remember about this, at least these details, how it is arranged. Similarly, in brief about why this, what is the purpose of bin, what is the purpose of boot folder, what is inside that, what will be going to media folder, what will be inside MNT folder. So everything is very specific, with the very specific purpose in mind. All these folders are created. Any doubts in this point? Anybody can ask your doubts.
Now, the aliases will be saved even after we close the terminal.
No, it will not be there, because that, in case if you want to do that, if you want to retain your aliases, then you have to store it in a specific file. That we will discuss it when we study shell programs. Okay, you can customize it. You can have your own file names. Your own alias names for everything. Okay, how computer will remember it? That will, while discussing about shell program, will remember. The moment you open a shell program, this alias command should execute at least once. We can make it execute as a executable also, then you will get it. You can remember those alias, in other words. Yeah, any other doubts?
Sir, what if we want to remove the alias without closing the prompt, the shell prompt?
So the easiest and very crude way of doing that is you restart shell.
No, but what if I want to
Uh,
remove it without restarting shell?
then you say pwd equal to pwd.
Oh,
Okay, that's it. Then one more point. See, now I will go to slash bin folder. Now I am inside this slash bin folder. Now I can say cd, then there is a tilde symbol. Now if you look into, now here you look into that pwd, you are inside bin folder, there is no doubt. Now you can change your folder with the cd command, cd and path name you can write, but there is a shortcut also. There is a tilde symbol, note this particular symbol. If you enter this command from anywhere in the folder, in the file system, automatically you will come to your home folder. Now you look into pwd, I am in home folder. I didn't say cd slash home slash Manmohan. Simply I used cd and this symbol. This will get me to my home folder. This about browsing through the file systems, some basic commands which will be very useful. Otherwise, you may sometimes go in a nested folders. Folder 1 may be within folder 2, and folder 2 may contain a few more other subsequent folders, etc. If you once you go deep into those folders, again if you want to come back, you need not type cd slash home, etc. full path. Simply you can jump to your home folder by writing this command. This is one of the very useful command when you are browsing through. your folders. Actually, you can say, for example, you can cd bin. From here you can also say cd, then you can write this represent your home folder, and within the home folder you can have a folder called documents. You can directly go to your own documents from anywhere from the folder by writing like this. Okay, you are inside /bin, but with this tilde symbol will get you to the home folder, and from there you are going suddenly into document folder directly. Similarly, to come out of any folder, you can go on typing like this, cd space dot dot. The moment I type it, I am coming out of document folder. See, I came out from the document folder. Again, if you type cd, I will come out from the folder, my folder called Manmohan also. So I am inside /home now. From /home, if I want to move up to the upper folder, I can just press cd, then I will go to root folder. This is also possible. Or else from the root folder, I can directly jump to my user account or my home folder also. And we can also create folder in this computer. If you want to create a new folder, the command used for that is mkdir. Say mkdir, I can say that, say for example, Linux programming, LP. You can give any name. One folder is created, make directory. Then you can go inside that folder. You are inside that folder. Now if you type pwd, your folder present working directory is /home/manmohan/lp. So mkdir and folder name, you will be creating one user account. You can come out of that folder like this also to your home folder. If you say check ls command for ld, what is this lp I created, lp folder I created. So it will look into the content of that particular folder. Content of that particular folder, it contains nothing. It is an empty folder. If you want to remove that folder, I can write rmdir and folder name. You should be very careful when you are working with the remove command, etc. By mistake, if you delete, sometimes you may end up with deleting some very important folders also. So now that folder is deleted. So mkdir creates a folder, mkdir and folder name. Similarly, remove directory removes a folder in your computer. So you practice with these commands also. Anyway, now I am going to stop today's lecture. At 10:15, your assignment will start after 11 o'clock. Answer that very neatly, briefly, and clearly, very clearly. Write very neatly the answer, and you have to upload it within the time bound. You already before 11 o'clock. Okay, you can write up to 11 o'clock. Then upload time is given up to 11:15. Some extra time is given to you, but assignment will end at 11 o'clock. Any doubt on this?
No, sir.
Hello. Right now, anyway, I'll take the attendance also. Then anyway, I will end the session for everybody. We can once again log in at 11:15 and start writing assignments. See you in the next class. Bye for all.